All right. Give me, where you at? John 1. Go to verse 18. Watch this.
The book of John, chapter 1 and verse 18. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son.
Who?
The only begotten Son. The only begotten Son.
So Jesus Christ is the Son of God.
That's right.
He is a God, but he is not the God. You understand?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. No, because you were saying Jesus Christ is God.
Yeah.
That's like, were you trying to say that he was the only God?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
All right.
he is God, but they still separate.
Exactly. It is a difference. It is a difference. All praises. You got that. Read that again.
No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him.
So Christ declared God. You understand? That's what the brother is bringing out. So it is a separation. I'm glad you understand that. So now, the brother also asked you, do you know who you are according to the Bible? Right?
Yeah.
You said you're Dominican.
I know that's just a nationality. That's not a...
That's not your true nationality. Because when you look on this sign right here, right? God calls the so-called Dominicans the tribe of Simeon. You understand? That's the same tribe I am. You understand? The tribe of Simeon. Some brothers here from the tribe of Judah. There's 12 tribes in the nation of Israel.
That's right.
Nowhere will you find Dominican in the Bible. You won't find black in the Bible. You won't find African American in the Bible. So what are we teaching our people? We're teaching our people their true nationality according to the scriptures.
That's right.
You understand, my brother?
I want to know where you get that from.
Where do I get that?
Where does it show that Simeon tribes?
All right, give me that in Genesis. You know what I want, right? Go to verse 1 first. Yes, sir. My brother, listen up, all right? Because the brother said, he asked, where do we get that the Dominicans are the tribe of Simeon? You see that? What's your nationality, my brother?
African American?
You're so-called African American. You as well, right? I'm guessing, right? All right. Because when you examine African American, the continent of Africa was named after Leo Scipius Africanus. That is an Edomite, an Italian navigator that the land was named after. America was named after Amerigo Vespucci, another Italian navigator.
That's
you understand? So two white men, two so-called white men cannot make your nationality.
That's right.
So that right there X's that out.
And Jacob called unto his sons.
So Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. So if you was to follow your genealogy, it would go back to who? Jacob. Jacob, the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Read.
And said, gather yourselves together.
What?
Gather yourselves together.
So he was an old man. He said, gather yourselves together, right? Watch this. Why?
That I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
That I may tell you what's going to happen to you as a people in the last days. So Jacob was telling his sons what was going to happen to the nation of Israel. At this time, they were not a nation. They were just 12 sons. Read.
Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren.
All right, so this is verse 5. This is talking about the so-called Dominicans and the so-called Haitians. Simeon are the tribe of the so-called Dominicans. Levi are the so-called Haitians. Let me ask you, how do you feel about Haitians?
I got nothing bad really to say about Haitians.
All right, but what's the stigma that Dominicans have with Haitians?
I say it's like with the ones that are really poor, because it is one of the poorest nations, though, just on the poor side. They feel like they're not hygienic, bro.
They say they stink. You're being nice, but they say Haitians stink, right? They don't get along with Haitians. Dominicans historically have not gotten along with Haitians. Am I correct in that assessment?
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to look at the Bible and see who is this talking about. Watch this. Read.
Simeon and Levi are brethren.
So Jacob, remember, Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes. He's talking to his two sons, Simeon and Levi. Keep that in your head. Simeon is the so-called Dominicans. Levi are the so-called Haitians. He said Simeon and Levi are brethren. Remember what he said. Read verse 1 again.
The book of Genesis chapter 49 in verse 1.
So what we going over is the history of the so-called Dominicans and Haitians in the Bible. You so-called Mexicans, Guatemalans, Salvadorans, we're all in the Bible. But what? God calls us the nation of Israel.
Teach!
Watch this, read.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
That which shall befall you in the last days, meaning in the future, right? So where are we now? We're in the present time. So what he was talking about then is what's happening now. Keep that in mind. What's your name, my brother? Hector. My name is Zephaniah. All right? Nice to meet you. Watch this.
Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren.
They are what?
Brethren.
What?
Brethren.
He said Simeon and Levi are brethren. Do Haitians and Dominicans treat each other like brothers? So you're not really too familiar, but when you go to the island, there's a divide, right? They want to kick the so-called Haitians out of that side of the country, right? That side of the island. But what does Jacob say? What did Jacob say about the Simeon and Levi? They're brothers, right? So he said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So in the last days, they don't treat each other like brothers.
I can't say that. I understand Simeon and Levi were brothers, but I don't know how that correlation comes with that.
Minute, you understand? I'm getting to it. Because remember, you got siblings. You have siblings, brothers and sisters, right? Have you ever fought with them?
Not really fight. I got sisters.
Argued,
Yeah.
right? And what does your parents say? Stop arguing, stop fighting. Y'all are brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah.
So this is what he told them. Remember, he had 12 sons, but these two, he told them, y'all are brothers. Why did he have to remind them they're brothers when they knew already that they are brothers? Because in the last days, remember he said that which shall befall you in the last days. They didn't act like brothers. They didn't remember they were brothers. You understand? This is prophecy, meaning future events. So we had to remind them. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Even though there's 12 of them, he had to remind those two that they are brothers. Remember that. Watch this, read.
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation.
Instruments of what?
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation.
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. What do you think is in the island of Dominican Republic and Haiti that's an instrument of cruelty? Witchcraft, brujeria, voodoo. You understand? Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. That's what Simeon and Levi are known for. They're known for witchcraft, brujeria, voodoo. You understand? So he told them, gather yourselves together. Why? Because in the last days, Simeon, Dominicans, Levi, Haitians were going to be dealing with witchcraft, and they were going to be hating each other. You have to remind them they were brothers. Read.
O my soul.
Oh my what?
O my soul. Come not thou into their secret.
Come not thou into their secret. So he told the other brothers, don't deal with that witchcraft. Don't deal with brujeria. Don't deal with voodoo. But what? A lot of the 12 tribes, they all deal with it. And a lot of them, they go to Haiti, Dominican Republic for what? For witchcraft, right? Hacerme un trabajo, right? They go over there. I don't know if your parents did, but some of my family members, they go over there for what? For the witchcraft, for the brujeria. You understand? So the scriptures is true when it's prophesying against those two tribes. So you just got to see things in the spirit. Read.
Unto their assembly.
Unto what?
Unto their assembly.
Read.
Mine honor. Be not thou united.
Be not thou what?
Be not now united.
Be not thou united, meaning don't get with them with that witchcraft, that voodoo, that brujeria. You understand? Be not thou united. Read.
For in their anger they slew a man.
In their anger they what?
They slew a man.
In their anger they slew a man. When you look at the history of Simeon and Levi, right, their sister Dinah was raped by Shechem, an African, a so-called African. And what did they do? They murdered those Africans. All right, they told them to get circumcised and they can marry the daughter. And what? They lied to them and they killed off the men of that nation, of the African tribe. All right, read.
And in their self-will they dig down a wall.
And they self-willed what?
They dig down a wall.
They dig down a wall, right? Because they were supposed to make a pact with that African tribe. Why? Because they were few in number. But Jacob said they had anger. All right, they deal with anger, they deal with hatred, they deal with witchcraft. Read.
Cursed be their anger.
Cursed be what?
Their anger.
Cursed be their anger, said their father Jacob. Read.
For it was fierce.
For it was what?
For it was fierce.
For it was fierce. Now, I'm going back because it said Simeon and Levi are brethren. He had to remind them. Why? Because in the last days, Dominicans speak Spanish, Haitians speak Creole. All right? They live in the same island, but it's divided. On one side, even the time zone is different.
It's market day in Dajabon, here on the Massacre River, which separates Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The border hasn't opened yet, but hundreds of Haitians try to beat the clock to set up their stalls first, over here on the Dominican side. The ancestors of the Haitians and the Dominicans have shared the island of Hispaniola for 5 centuries. But standing here on the Dominican side of the border, the differences between the two countries couldn't be clearer.
It's 8 o'clock on market day on this side of the river. It's 7 o'clock over there. They speak Spanish on this side of the river. They speak Creole over there. The people on this side of the river are proud to be part of a mixed race society. There, they're proud to be black.
Haitians and Dominicans have had many conflicts over the years. This river was the site of one of the worst massacres in the history of the Caribbean.
They're divided. You understand? All right? Dominicans are treated a little bit better than Haitians. Haitians are in more poverty. They've been divided as brethren, but he reminded them that they are brothers. You understand? So these are the prophecies that you must see yourself in the scriptures. And when you do the research, also, when you find out the so-called Dominicans and Haitians, when they were in captivity under the Spaniards in 1522, right, they got together. They got together, and what did they do? They put the slave masters to death on a so-called Christmas night. You understand? But that's the history of Simeon and Levi. They deal with what? Anger, hatred, and they nice with the sword, the machete. They put the slave master to death. Go ahead, read.
And their wrath.
And their what?
And their wrath. For it was cruel.
Their wrath, for it was cruel against their slave masters. And who? Against the so-called Africans when they dealt treacherously with their sister Dinah. Read.
I will divide them in Jacob.
I will what?
I will divide them in Jacob.
I will divide them in Jacob. Meaning the so-called Haitians, right? They were the Levitical priesthood, but they were divided in Jacob, meaning they had their blessing was what? They get a portion from each tribe for being the Levitical priesthood. But now in the last days, they are what? They don't even go to Haiti anymore. Why? Because it's a poor country. So where do you find the so-called Haitians? Here in America. In Mexico, they have Haitians. In Africa, they have Haitians. In Brazil, Haitians are going all over the country. Why? Because they're in poverty. They're at the bottom. You understand? Read.
And scatter them in Israel.
And what?
And scatter them in Israel.
They have been scattered amongst the 12 tribes.
That's right.
The so-called Haitians. So this is the prophecy of Simeon and Levi.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.